So my name is Mithil Shah, and today with me I have Jeffrey Chai. He's the product manager at GovTech. And together we're going to talk about how we built an enterprise-grade machine learning platform for GovTech. Now this session is divided into two parts. In the first part, Jeffrey is going to talk about how he interviewed the users and how we started the whole journey of building the enterprise platform. And in the second half, I'll talk about some of the design aspects that we considered while building the platform. So over to you, Jeffrey.
Yep. Okay, thanks, Mithil. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeffrey, and I'm the product manager for analytics.gov. Before I start, I would like to thank AWS for giving me this opportunity to be here to share about my AWS customer story. So I shall start on my presentation introducing what analytics.gov is, how today we are supporting Singapore's public agencies in their data exploitation journey, as well as our next bound development as we are going to build MLOps capabilities for the whole of government via Amazon Sagemaker. Let me start off my story by talking about how we actually go about building this platform. Analytics.gov was started with the intent of wanting to address some of the common data analytics ground challenges that is faced by our public officers today. And I shall highlight some of the main challenges over here. First of all is the need for more computation power, as running of some analytics use cases can sometimes be computational intensive and is not something that a typical work machine can handle and optimize for such processing. Secondly, packages and libraries, even though they are already available out in the internet, but more often than not, they can't be easily downloaded into officers' work machines due to intranet space to access such resources. And thirdly, is the lack of means, or shall I say a common platform for these users to share codes and collaborate with one another within the project teams, and also even when we talk about across the rest of the agencies. So that was how analytics.gov was built. So essentially, analytics.gov, or shall I say AG in short for the rest of my presentation, we envision to be the central whole of government data exploitation platform that is built by GovTech's Data Science and Artificial Intelligence division. We strive to support users' analysis data with built-in data security and governance features and access to a wide range of analytical tools. And I shall highlight our product features as simply as A, B, and C. A stands for availability and accessibility, where today our AG users are just clicks away to accessing some of the common IDEs, such as JupyterLab, RStudio, and VS Code. And did I mention also about visualization tools like Tableau and ClickSense? And through our own repository system, we also allow users to have access to the most updated packages and libraries for their use when they are working on the work on our platform. B stands for better compute resources, and as AG helps to reduce the computational load of the users' work by accessing their resources directly on our platform. And C stands for collaborate seamlessly, as users are able to share codes and collaborate with anyone and everyone within the same agency or even across the other agencies. And we also assured them that our platform is built with compliance to government architecture and security requirements. So how far we have come today? Well, I'm proud to announce that today we have more than 1,600 users across 80+ public agencies that have onboarded with us for their data exploitation journey. That is actually close to 90% of the total public agencies count when we look at the entire government scene. AG started off as an on-premise setup in 2020, and since then, we have been hearing a lot of feedback about how we can scale the platform further. Not just as we anticipate a growing pool of users, but we also want to cater to the future demand for these users in terms of higher compute load and also the elasticity of resources that we can provide for them. And guess what? As you can see, since July 2022, we have decided to expand our platform to the government commercial cloud, otherwise known as GCC. And you might have guessed it, we pioneered our cloud services with AWS, as AWS was one of the major solution providers within the GCC. So, at the start of our GCC journey with AWS, our platform's development was pretty nascent. We started off leveraging on AWS EKS cluster to actually scale our resources on demand. This allows us to scale horizontally and automatically by adding more nodes into the cluster so that each user have their individual pod for their analysis. So that was how we actually technically started building our platform. But this by no means an end to how we think our platform should be ideally. So every now and then we think about whether could there be a better way to do this? To improve our platform, not just to enhance our current user experience, but also to look at 2-3 steps ahead to see how we can future-proof our product offering and to cater to the future demand of all these users on the whole of government level, and especially in the area of AI ML. So to ascertain this, what we have done is to try to identify the strong imperatives for AG's next bound development. And with that, what we have done was we actually conducted numerous user surveys and also analyzed throngs of users' data from our user perception surveys. And all in all, we managed to come out with the following 3 how might we statements that we think serve as guiding beacons to actually drive our product development roadmap. First, how might we better leverage on existing cloud-native services so as to empower more groups of users other than just data science core practitioners to work on ML projects, and this can be done through ML democratization. And also, we want to see how some of these cloud services are able to accelerate ML innovation and development across the whole of government scene. Secondly, how might we enhance our platform so as to scale machine learning building, deploying, and monitoring so as to make MLOps adoption easier for the various agencies and their respective project teams. Lastly, how might we, as a central platform, will be able to provide ready access to more resources for users in terms of catering their complex ML use cases? Can we look beyond just providing CPU resources to them? And when we talk about resources, we also talk about how we can actually expand our repository of models, packages, and libraries. In this slide, what we have done was that we actually focus our product direction to want to build MLOps capabilities on analytics.gov. While we want to continue providing a ready and secure platform for our users, what we think would be a game changer now would be the fact that as we build an enterprise-level machine learning platform, we can allow users to develop and deploy machine learning models efficiently at scale. And for that, we have come up with 3 key outcomes that we want to achieve out of building such capabilities on the platform. And again, A, B, and C. A stands for the enablement to give our agencies to able to carry out and scale MLOps efficiently. And this could be done through standardization and automation of some of the relevant pipeline components. B stands for boosting their overall productivity and collaboration. So that means giving them access to beyond CPU, but also GPU resources. And of course, expanding our repository of pre-trained and foundation models to them. And also, we want to bring in low-code ML capabilities to this group of users, especially business users. Thirdly, and most importantly, is capabilities to be developed in multiple cloud environments. While we are trailblazing our MLOps capabilities with AWS, and in particular Amazon SageMaker, what we want to look for is that eventually we want to develop similar capabilities in other cloud services as well. And that will mean that, especially so as a central platform, we need to cater the whole of government needs who are using various cloud service solutions as well. How are we going to position machine learning with Amazon SageMaker? So in this slide, I shall highlight 3 following key services under SageMaker that we think can bring critical customer value to our users. First of all, SageMaker Studio for MLOps, where users can now leverage on this one-stop IDE to perform all steps of a machine learning lifecycle with every functionality in a single user interface. SageMaker Jumpstart will promise users to have access to a wide range of models, both public-facing and proprietary ones, so as to cater a diverse range of problem types, and all can be deployable with just 1-2 clicks. And when I talk about models, I really mean all kinds of models, including generative AI foundation models, such as Stable Diffusion and also LLMs. As you can see for myself, just a 1-minute job, so I hope you guys don't mind. I was trying to use Stable Diffusion to come up with certain pictures to project how I could possibly be if I were to pursue other careers in a parallel universe. Right? And thirdly, it will be SageMaker Canvas, which will provide the low-code tool for business users, such as business analysts, to be able to kickstart creating models and make relevant predictions without any prior experience. So with that, I shall end my portion. Thanks everyone for your attention, and I will now pass my time to Mithil, who will share more about the design aspects of building an ML platform like analytics.gov. Mithil.
Thanks, Jeffrey. It's going to be really hard to follow that amazing presentation, but I also must thank Jeffrey for all the hard work, vigor, and enthusiasm that he has shown throughout the project. So now, when we generally talk to enterprises, we talk to two different classes of persona. We either talk to the users of the platform. These are the data scientists, the data analysts who use the platform. And then the other persona is the enabler of the platform, the corporate IT, the project management team. Jeffrey talked about how the users of the platform, what questions they have. I'll walk you through what the enablers of the platform, people like Jeffrey and his team, how they build that platform. So you start your journey by designing or determining what kind of domain structure you need. So if you have an enterprise which has multiple business units, Sagemaker Studio, which is the ML service that AWS provides, it allows you to create what is called a domain per business unit. So now within each domain, you can have resources that are secluded, that are restrained to that domain. It allows you to provide permissions to that particular domain, and then you link that to what is an S3 bucket so that you have your data which can only be accessed by that particular domain. So this allows segregation of your different business units, but still allows them to use the same platform. Now you have a choice of either doing this in a single account or multiple accounts. Both choices are fair, and both choices are valid. It depends on what maturity level your cloud team is at right now. But one choice which is pretty clear is that you need to deploy this Sagemaker domain so that it has access to your private VPC. And corporates generally set up the system so that the resources that are spin up in the Sagemaker Studio, this could be notebooks, they have access to the private VPC. The UI though, the UI that you use to access Sagemaker Studio, that is browser-based. So if you want to get into Sagemaker Studio, you will have to open the UI in a browser, which is internet-based. But every resource, such as notebook that you spun up or training jobs that you start, you can configure that to use your private VPC. Now, talking about authentication, there are a few options. But for GovTech, we had to do something really interesting, which is we used a pre-signed URL to launch Sagemaker Studio. So imagine you have a user, a data scientist who wants to get into Sagemaker Studio. She will first log in to a custom web application using single sign-on, and then click a button to launch Sagemaker Studio, which gives the user a seamless experience in using Sagemaker Studio as a platform for machine learning. The other options are using AWS IAM and AWS Identity Center, which is the successor to AWS SSO. Now that the user has logged in, she might want to install packages, and this is where having a private repository comes in handy. So with GovTech, we used option one, which is they have a Nexus repository. So when a data scientist starts a notebook and does pip install, the packages come from the Nexus repository and doesn't come from the internet, which makes it possible to use any packages that you want within your network itself. The other option is to use AWS Code Artifact, and that allows you to set up your packages within AWS network itself. Now, the other thing that few customers asked us is, can we have an image so that any data scientist who starts using a notebook can use an image with pre-installed libraries? For example, an R image where you have all the R libraries pre-installed? And the answer is yes. And that's what we have designed for GovTech as well, which is we have designed so that they create custom images which other data scientists can now start using with all the pre-built libraries, scanned and pre-built libraries already inside the image. So when they spun up a notebook, they create a kernel, and this kernel has all the libraries that have been pre-installed for them. And they can just start on their machine learning experimentation. So what we have seen so far is we have seen how to set up a domain for each business unit. We have seen how to set up a private networking for your Sagemaker domain. We have also seen how to log in and start experimenting. Now that the data scientist has finished experimentation, we are ready to move into the most fun part, which is machine learning operations. This is where we are starting to put the model into production. The service that we use, or the construct that we use here, is called Amazon SageMaker Project. Amazon SageMaker project allows you to create pre-built CI/CD pipelines that you can use to get your model through the various stages and then finally into production. Now, it's just not enough to get the model into production. You also want to continuously monitor it. You want to monitor it for data drift and model drifts as well. So this is what you can build inside the CI/CD pipeline as well. And in the next slide, I'll deep dive into the exact workflow of this CI/CD pipeline. So this is a typical workflow of a CI/CD pipeline for machine learning, what we refer to as MLOps. So a data scientist, a lead data scientist would first create a project, and the project has a template for the CI/CD pipeline. Now, once you have finished experimenting and your model is ready to be put in production, you'll trigger off the first part of the pipeline, which does 3 steps: pre-processing, training, and post-processing. This is done via what we call SageMaker pipelines. Once you have finished training, you push the model into a central model registry. And then this triggers a second pipeline, which then takes this model and puts it into production. If you notice clearly, there is an approval step in between there as well. And this is a manual approval step. Now, this is an optional step, but many enterprises choose to use it because this kind of helps with your whole model governance, which means you take a look at the model, take a look at its performance and its output before it gets into production. Now, the last part is, and this is the last piece of the puzzle, now that you have built your model and get it into production, how do you make it available to the other people in the enterprise? And this is where really having a central platform helps, and this is where analytics.gov is doing a really great job. Now you can expose this model as an API to other parts of the organization, to other agencies, or even to other customers outside the organization. The way you do that is that you take the inference endpoint and you put it behind what is called an API gateway. The API gateway allows you to give users an HTTPS endpoint, and then the users can use that HTTPS endpoint to call your inference endpoint. You can also create a different API key for different customers, which means this allows you to find out the consumption that different teams had and even create a chargeback model if you wanted to. So that kind of finishes the whole design aspect. I just wanted to summarize what you have seen today. So if you wanted to start this journey tomorrow, what you would do is start talking to your users and find out what kind of usages do you see in your enterprise. Separate them as no-code, low-code, or full model building. Once you have found out what use cases are people looking for in the organization, then start identifying the access mechanisms. Do you want to use single sign-on, or do you want to give people access to an AWS account where they can launch SageMaker? Once that is done, you can also start thinking about the domain structure. Now again, start thinking about domain and account structure together. Do you want to create multiple accounts, and are you OK handling the overhead? Or do you want to create a single account and be happy with multiple domains in a single account? Now again, both choices, like I said, are valid, and you can start with whatever gets you faster into the production. Then start creating your domain in private VPC, create a private package installation, as you have seen, build the machine learning pipeline. The last part is most important. I think if that's one key thing that you take out of this, please try and start experimenting and innovating today, because that's where the hard work that Jeffrey and his team has made really comes into effect. So thank you so much for being here. If you want to learn more, go to skillbuilder.aws. It has amazing training and certifications that starts you on your journey. These are some more details of how you can contact us, but please, we'll really appreciate if you can put in your feedback as well. I want to thank Jeffrey for coming here today and really sharing your experiences with us. Thank you so much.